the number one thing that resonated was this Becky Lynch, Paul Heyman backstage. And we see Paul Heyman knocking on Adam Pearce's door, and he needs to talk to Pearce. And he's like, listen, I need you to let Bronson and Braun back into the Battle Royal. Because earlier in the night, Pearce pulled them out of the Battle Royal. Paul was doing what Paul does, trying to politic them back in. And Pearce looks at Heyman and he's like, say please. Just like Braun told Adam at the beginning of the night. So Paul puts on his fake happy face and his sugary sweet voice. You know, the one that we've all heard before. And he says, can you please let them back into the Battle Royal? Please. 2 pleases we got in Paul's promo. And Pearce says, no, and slams the door in his face. And then Paul turns around and he basically, he says like, oh, this day is going great, or how much worse can this night get? And he turns around and Becky Lynch is standing right there. And the thing that really jumped out at me, Nick, about Becky standing there is Becky had almost no makeup on. Like, she had just wrestled the match. She was still sweaty, little mascara, maybe, but whatever, little bit of eyeliner, just kind of trickling a little bit. No makeup, and as serious as I've ever seen Becky Lynch look in her entire career. Why so serious? Because obviously Paul Heyman and the Vision fucked over her husband. And no matter how much you dislike Becky Lynch right now, or may like Becky Lynch right now, she is a woman scorned, pissed off because of what just happened. Strong, man. Strong. And I loved the shot of Becky grabbing Paul by the tie and pulling him in. And we can only see Becky's face, pseudo whispering into Paul's ear. We couldn't see Paul's face. And without the makeup and that really serious look and like the dryness of her mouth and like the spittle in between her teeth as she was talking, it came across to me so real, as if Becky was shooting a little bit about how she felt about Paul Heyman in real life. Nick, the floor is yours. What did you think of this moment in time with Becky Lynch and Paul Heyman?
A couple different pieces to go back to, I think 2 weeks ago, to Seth having a very important conversation with Paul Heyman, to where he's actually very similar, to where he's not maintaining eye contact. He's looking past Paul and off to the side, and you're waiting for like not a catchphrase or a punchline, but you're waiting to see like where they're going with it, and it just becomes more and more serious. And halfway through it, Seth, who's has some calm rage to him, finally goes, Paul, and catches he goes, get out of your bullshit mode that when you're politicking backstage, you're now in here with me, and theoretically, no cameras, no other people, it's just us. I need the real truth from you. And it becomes a very serious moment, and was really well done. This is looking the other way, and it's just on Becky's face, and I love the details that you're saying, like the makeup gone away, a little spittle in the mouth. It makes it seem very extra real when you don't have everybody looking pretty and all their hair in the right place, and or me, my hair slicked back and like looking all fresh faced. You just got out of the ring. You just gave everything you had, and actually had to get a DQ out of it because you were on the run so much. So you went through all the emotions, and now you're backstage and you see this MFer and you find him and you go, I can't. You're in a perfect world. She's waiting for Paul to turn around, and she's holding back, knocking him out and punching out a tooth. And when you get that genuine, real rage, and it seems so real, and the calmness with also like the shaking inside the mind and the mouth as she calmly gives these threats, makes it so real, so good, so solid. And this is this is something Paul taught us in Ohio Valley Wrestling, to when it's almost like one of those get ahead books in life, to where you speak a little quieter and then everybody has to lean forward to hear what you're saying. And then everybody's on the edge of their seat waiting to see what the next word out of your mouth is. And it is a genuine technique to where you're not just sitting back going, pro wrestling's on. Yeah, this guy's going to punch this other guy. This is, if I ever fucking see you near my child again, I will choke you out in person and stomp your teeth down your fucking throat. And you get that real feeling and that vibe of it. And you're like, damn, that's hot. Like, it's so solid. Like you said, possibly with some real thoughts in her mind about Paul over the last few years. But the entire thing was really, really well done. No jokes, no catchphrases, no wrestling, as Vince would say. Just a genuine young lady that just escaped barely with her title, knows what happened to her husband, and sees this effing guy who set it all up, possibly behind the scenes. And I thought it was really, really well done. And then to make it a little bit lighthearted, now that I said the F word a bunch of times, my mom's gonna be mad at me. Now to make it a little bit lighthearted, we were listening to the audio, but my favorite part was doing the Chevy Chase to Ted Knight in Caddyshack, fixing his tie and patting his shoulders and making sure he looks good. And he goes, just so you know, my father never liked you. And then taps him on and fixes his tie. As you like, yes, we're on the same page. Yes, we're on the same page. Yes, we're on the same page. Fuck you. You're dead to me. Got it? And then you fix that little tie in a cute way and you let them pee in their pants just a little bit and then you walk away.
And when you just talked about how Paul taught you in OVW about how to slow down the cadence a little bit, bring the volume down, and really make people understand what you're saying, put fear in them with your words and your tone. That's Jake Roberts 101.
Oh, yeah.
Having people move up in their seats because you are so calm, cool, and collected, but people think you can explode at any minute. And that's what Becky did last night. And I think that was, I can't remember another time, another promo, another piece of business where I was so invested in what Becky had to say. And you could even, if you wanted to really analyze this, should Becky Lynch really have that much of a problem in the ring with Maxine Dupree? No. Becky Lynch should have probably squashed Maxine in 3 minutes. But because she has Paul Heyman on her mind, because she knows of what just happened to her husband last week, that is trumping, superseding everything to the fact where she had to get herself DQ'd against Maxine because she's not bringing her A game, because she has real world problems on her mind and not some girl that's been rolling around at the dungeon with Natty trying to do her absolute best in her hometown. And that's and I love those sub layers to why Becky might have been where she was last night. Here's another thing that resonated with me. Becky defending her husband, her man, the father of her child. And towards the end, because Heyman is such a snarky heel, and at the end of the day, you always want to see Paul Heyman get his. I'm saying to myself, holy shit, this woman is setting the table for a monster babyface return of Seth Rollins. And we don't think of Seth as a babyface these days, but when that music hits, that guy gets a pop. Those people are programmed to respond a certain way to Seth Rollins. And if he's coming back to right the wrong, because whether or not you like Seth Rollins is one thing, he got screwed over. Paul Heyman did what Paul Heyman does best. He's riding the coattails of the two next big things. And Bronson and Braun did not understand what was going on. And Paul had to run down his resume. Paul didn't give these two youngins like a very specific answer as to why he couldn't get them back into the Battle Royal. He had to go, hey, Remember what I did for Brock. Hey, remember what I did for Punk. Hey, remember what I did for Roman. Do yourselves a favor. Keep your mouth shut and let me do the thinking for this team. And man, everything worked in that segment to me. My question to you, do you think that promo alone from Becky can set the table for Seth Rollins to become back and loved?
Oh yeah, but it's taking out the generic somebody goes away with an injury, they come back, we're happy to see them because they're one of our guys or gals. Taking that completely out, yes. You already have some, like, we already know what Seth's capable of. We've known what he's done for the last 5, 7, 10 years. Having a moment like that with Becky, almost in her way, almost turning babyface a little bit for a minute, just because Paul is such a swarthy heel that anything you're saying, even two heels hating each other, you're like, yeah, Paul, get him out of here. He's the worst. Having that all happen and just this moment here, and if this was a in ring and was 2 or 3 minutes and was okay, no, but because of how severe this was, because of how real it was, how much play you're going to get out of it, that's going to be one of those clips that when people send me stuff of somebody like jumping outside and no one catching them, and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. I hate that people do this or are untrained. You have, and there's like, it has 5 million views, and Raw gets 2 million people or whatever the hell it is. And then this is going to be one of those clips that's going to have millions of views, not for the shock factor, not for a crazy move, but because it's so well done that it's like a 3-minute scene out of Goodfellas that you can actually refer to and replay on the show and go back to and show clips and be like, hell yeah, this is what it's supposed to be about. And it just gives everybody who's already going to cheer for Seth because they know what he can do and they know he's been wronged, when if it's 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, a year, who knows, but you already have that set in, just so you know, of the bad guys, Paul clearly is the pulling the strings behind here. So whoever gets wronged by him and comes back, we are behind them. And that was all in something where she mentioned her husband one time and continued on with the sliminess of Paul.
Crazy out of left field thought that I also had last night watching Paul and Becky and thinking about Seth. So obviously a couple of months ago, Seth fakes the knee injury. And we see what that turned into, and it's ha ha ha, I pulled the wool over all your eyes. Now we know, quote unquote, know that Seth has a legitimate injury. Is there any chance that they try to turn this injury into ha ha ha, I pulled the wool over your eyes again?
You never know. And yeah, you said like nothing's, even things that have been confirmed. Like I haven't heard that, like, hey, he's out 8 to 12 months, 3 to 6 months. Here's the injury. Even if that was the case, you can still put out a fake report, obviously, and say, hey, here's the thing. He has, and you could also tell when they get into the weeds and they get some gray area and just say some big doctory words, and you're like, oh, this is a kind of a Vince thing, not the joking like bleeding from your anus bullshit from Vince, but like the real, like, he has a contusion that could possibly be, like, all these different words, and you're like, oh, it's just mumbo jumbo for it's week to week, or we'll see, or he's coming back. This could be a legitimate injury. I don't know what has told me that, other than possibly saying it is, but before I left WWE, that was one of those things where I was like, first of all, we should have things to where, instead of just people leaving for injuries and getting the big pop on the return or having moments, I pitched every 6 or 8 months, some big star goes out, whether it's for a week or a month or 3 months, just to have you're now manufacturing the returns. And like, man, everybody's so over because every couple of months somebody just comes back without the injuries. And I think it would really be good long term for everybody, but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. I don't know that Seth's really hurt. And if he is, it might be a long, long ass time. If that's some rotator cuff shit, that's a year, or close. So going forward, I really think it's not faking an injury, but if it is, you'd be like, this fucking guy again. I don't know if you get that same pop after the realization.
One of the things that me and Devon never benefited from was getting injured. I know that sounds messed up. You know, we never got hurt, so we never had the luxury of coming back because we were gone for 3 to 6 months. We were just constantly out there. And I'm saying that, you know, thank God we were never hurt. Yeah. But you're saying that if the injury is that serious, if it's a rotator cuff, that's 8 to 12 months, no doubt?
I would have, you know, even in 2025, serious rotator cuff damage and a major surgery would be no less than 6 months.
And you know what's a shame?
If not way longer.
Like Seth, he did that coast to coast flying headbutt so perfectly. Man, he stayed in that laid out position, which people don't understand how difficult it is to stay laid out and in that perfect position that long, and then just at the last second, roll underneath and catch all of that weight, all of that speed, all of that momentum on the shoulder. Guy's a fucking warrior for even finishing the match, but we know what it's like to have adrenaline pumping through our veins.